Welcome to Storytime at the Rubus, a sometimes weekly podcast about the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival. I'm your host, Sharla.
And I'm Daniel, and you already know why it's sometimes weekly. It's the off season. We've got a couple of months left to go until it's, rumors season. I'm sure that What Podcast and the Ruham Boys will kick into gear around then too. We've had a lot going on. We've been getting the new nonprofit ready, and I'll be honest with you, I've been traveling so much, so that's one reason you're not hearing from us as much. Charlotte, what have you been up to?
Well, I've just been really working and getting things into play for the nonprofit. Tell us about some of your travels, Daniel.
Well, I was just in Salt Lake City this past week, and shout out to Sammy, who is a new board member on what we're working on, and also Kevin and Amber. I was hanging out with them. I went to some cool places in Salt Lake City that they took me to Sunday night. For anybody that's here in the Huntsville area, I pretty much went to the Salt Lake City version of Voodoo. Like, basically like a dive bar with a lot of locals. It was really fun.
No, that's cool. Okay, so back up. Kevin and Amber are from Bonnaroo, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yeah, they're down in the Birmingham area. We see them fairly frequently. I would like to see them more than we do. They come up to like our Halloween parties that we have here at the house. And of course we hang out with them. Kevin's one of the big people behind the beer exchange over at Camp Red Root.
And Sammy camped with us in Rubus this year.
Oh my gosh, they were such a big help. Anything that I needed, I could count on Sammy. Sammy was on an old episode back in the day that we did kind of about some pride-related subjects, I believe.
Yes, Sammy is amazing.
Oh, man. I had the best time with all of them the other night. That's one of the cool things about, like, my regular job is I travel all over the place nowadays. So it seems like every town that I go to, there's, like, some Rubians there.
You know, I remember... It was years ago, probably. Kevin actually mentioned that about wherever you go in the country, you can always, find another Rubian.
Pretty much, especially these major cities. I've been really lucky where at least one night I have another Rubian to hang out with and do something fun with. I think that's going to be the case the next couple of times, too. I'm going to be down in Orlando and the Kennedy area before too long, and already planning to see some people in that area, too. So it's going to be a blast. So I can't complain. But besides your day job and working on our foundation, what have you been doing? I need some details.
You need some details?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say because that's all that I do is I work like 12 hours a day and then I come home and I work on the nonprofit, literally.
When are you going to take some time off finally?
I do need to take some time off.
Yeah, you do.
I really do.
Yeah. We should talk offline about that. I know me and her have some like actual travel planned, not work travel. Me and her are going to do some stuff later. But yeah, let's talk about that later. You do need to take some time off. This is going to be a shorter episode this week because we're traveling so much and everything. Do we want to start off by telling about the events that we have coming up with our foundation, named to be announced soon, and already has been announced in some places?
Absolutely. So we have mentioned this on the podcast a few times already, but we got to mention it again, just in case anyone listening doesn't know about it. So October the 13th here in Huntsville, we actually have an event coming up. It's going to be at the Madison Tap Room. And Madison Tap Room is a wonderful, I have to give them a shout out. If you're anywhere in the North Alabama, Lower Tennessee area, it's so worth the drive to come and check them out. They're a wonderful family-owned a tap room. They serve local, regional craft beers, and they're a family-owned business. And anyways, our event is going to be at Madison Tap Room, October the 13th, starting at 6 p.m., so around 6 to 9. And our event is just a come out, get to know what our nonprofit organization is all about. Get to know what we're doing with the nonprofit. Get to know essentially what the nonprofit is, how we're raising the funds for the scholarships to send people to music festivals to help people experience live music.
And, we've talked about that already. We've talked about the one that we're doing at the tap room on Friday the 13th of October. Or can you tell us about the next one that we're doing in November? So if Madison and Huntsville is a little far for you, if you're in the Tennessee area, tell them about the other one coming up on November 12th.
Yes, so absolutely. So we have a brand new one that I don't think we have mentioned this one before.
No. This is mainly what I want to tell everybody about.
So we have a brand new one, and we actually have this one. I absolutely owe this one to one of our Patreons, Sam. So he was, he actually set this one up 100%. This one is actually going to be on November the 12th at Wedge Pizza and Pub in Nashville. It's actually located off of 65 North. And Wedge Pizza and Pub, November the 12th, 2 to 4 p.m. So I should just say starting at 2 p.m. And again, it's the same type of the same type of event. Just come out, get to know what we are all about. Just come out, have a drink, hang out with us, just have a good time, essentially.
All right. So again, that one is on November 12th, 2 p.m. on a Sunday. Please come hang out with us if you're in the Nashville area. And I do want to point out, we aren't really, it's a fundraiser event, but we aren't asking for much of anything. This is mainly just a way for us to tell you what we're up to in the network and just have a Ruvian hangout. That's really it.
And I do want to thank Sam again for setting up that Nashville event for us.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. Thank you, Sam. All right. So speaking of which, let's thank our Patreons that have been hooking us up. As we have mentioned already, all the money for this is going to that new foundation. We've talked about this extensively. There was a whole episode that talks about the 3 pillars of what we're doing. So if you haven't heard that one, go back and check it. But Sharla, can you list off the people that are helping us out with this?
Absolutely. Okay. First we have Sam.
Yeah. Wow. That's coincidental.
Austin, Madeline, James, Daria, Chelsea, aka Hygiene Queen, Ryan, Rebecca, Chris, Skylar, Dan Raymer, Ernst.
Shout out to Ernst. Had a good time with him.
Bill, Harris, Keith, Casey, Chloe Rose, Dave, Amanda, Aaron, Nick, Maddie, McFerg, Kent, Randy, Madison, Scott, Greg, Eric and Ben, Evan, Jay, Chloe Hannon, and Sean.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. That is still at patreon.com/Rubus. The URL may change after we get our new name official and everything. But for right now, it is at patreon.com/Rubus. Everything that is donated, and I mean everything, we're not doing the percentage thing anymore. 100% of this goes to the new foundation. So more info coming soon. Check some of our old episodes if you would like some more info. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we've got some juicy details to share about this new event that is coming from some of the same people at Bonnaroo to Huntsville, our hometown.
I'm shaking.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, everybody, we're back, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't intend to have any breaks at all in this episode because I've got to be on the road soon, but we were going to check something that was in the oven. I just want to make sure that dinner wasn't burning in the oven. That was the reason for that break.
He made me go check it, and I promise y'all, when I sat back down on the couch, I think I blew out my knees.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
She's very frail, but no, the chicken in the oven was not done. So we're going to eat dinner after the end of this episode. I like being transparent.
No, usually we eat dinner before we record, and we're always like,
yeah, that's not the play.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason that we're here and kind of like the main subject area for this episode is yesterday on September 26th, it was announced from the Huntsville State of the City that the city of Huntsville is working with C3, and they called them out by name, the people who put together Lollapalooza and Bonnaroo, to put together a new event here in Huntsville. This is, of course, big news for everybody here in town, and I think this is going to be a bigger splash in the festival community once everything gets officially announced. First of all, I have to preface this. I've got to give full disclosure. I did kind of know about this. I've been having to keep my mouth shut, which if you know me, that is a big feat for me. Charlotte's giving me the side eye. There are things that I know about this that I can't disclose because it should come from the horse's mouth. So just wanted to put that out there. There's things that I can and can't talk about, but you'll be able to hear all the great news in the way that you should hear it pretty soon. Now, Charlotte, what was your impression of all this?
What was my impression of
this soon-to-be named festival coming to Huntsville? Yeah.
Festival. I am tremendous. Well, I just wanted you to be detailed when you asked me that.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of details to know yet other than it's coming from the people behind Bonnaroo here in Huntsville. Oh, also that it will be in John Hunt Park, but we'll talk about the location here in just a few moments.
So my initial impression that Huntsville's getting a festival. I'm tremendously, tremendously excited. I think that we are long overdue for a festival. Huntsville is roughly the size of Chattanooga. I should have looked that up before I said
smaller. That. That's okay. Anybody listening to this can just look up the Wikipedia right now.
In fact, check me.
Yeah, check Sharla.
But I think Huntsville's long overdue for a festival.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Huntsville as a music town and a little bit of the history of it. Some of you who are listening who are from around the area, this is going to be old news to you, but for most of everybody listening, this will be stuff that you didn't know about. Thank you, dog. She's over here coughing. All right, so back in the day, in the 90s and early 2000s, we did have a festival here. It was a very previous gen kind of festival. It was called Big Spring Jam. It was in the main park here in Huntsville, Big Spring Park. That park looks a lot different now. There's an art museum there now that wasn't there then. So they had more acreage to have stages and space for everybody to see back in the day.
So per the records that's been stated, at its peak, Big Spring Jam had about 240,000 people. I don't know how that's counted, and that's been heavily debated.
That doesn't sound right to me, honestly.
It doesn't sound right to me either. I don't know if they were tabulating the totals, like if they had... It lasted several days, like longer than Bonnaroo. I want to say it lasted like a week or something. I don't even remember.
In some cases it did. It kind of differed sometimes year to year.
And I don't know if they were tabulating the totals of each day. I don't know, but that number's been heavily debated. Anyways, some very famous, or would go on to be very famous artists, actually played Big Spring Jam.
The Foo Fighters, Destiny's Child.
Taylor Swift.
I forgot about that.
Big Spring
Taylor
Jam.
Swift, yeah.
So, I mean, we had some great artists back in the day. I mean, I know Daniel and I saw some really good artists.
I remember we saw Willie Nelson. It was bands that was popular at the time. So think like Sugar Ray, like late 90s, early 2000s.
We saw Sugar Ray at the Big Spring Jam.
I remember I saw the Gin Blossoms. They were a band that I was into at that time. Honestly, I think Widespread Panic was there one year. We went to see them for a bit.
We saw Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That was mainly on behalf of your mom, since she was a big fan back in the day.
Yes.
That was fun. But it was, for some time, a well-run event. But they ran into the same issues that a lot of events have run into in recent years, where they just had some really bad luck with some weather. In fact, do you want to tell the story about the one time you were there with your mom?
So this was I believe it was the year before it got officially canceled. My mom and I actually attempted to go to the Big Spring Jam. We got in. We were in there for no more than 10 minutes. I mean, if that, maybe no more than 5 minutes. And it got just shut down. I mean, we paid probably, the tickets were not, and this is early 2000s, so no more than $50 per ticket.
Yeah, it's a different time.
Yeah. And, this were for day passes. And we got in, we're in there for no more than 5-10 minutes, and they canceled it, shut it down.
And you guys never got a refund,
everyone
did you?
out. We didn't get to see a single artist, no one. And we did not receive a refund. And which I understand how logistics work, and I understand things like that, but we just like literally walked in and walked out. And the next year, I believe, was the final year of the Big Spring Jam.
Yeah, I think it went away.
I think it rained again the next year.
Yeah, it went away for a few years, and they brought it back in a different way. They had Alan Jackson headline inside the Von Braun Center.
Yeah, not the same.
It just wasn't the same, and I don't think it sold the way that they wanted it to. But this was like well over 15 years ago at this point. Back in the day, in the old days, when Charlie and I first moved to Huntsville for college and everything, there was a couple of locally owned venues that did their own booking. So some of the first times that we saw Oak Crow Medicine Show was at this place called Crossroads in downtown Huntsville. It's a totally different place now. It's on Clinton Street, I believe. Clinton something.
I don't remember.
Anyways, we also saw Alabama Shakes in there before they blew up with a crowd of maybe like 100 people.
We used to have this venue back in the day in Huntsville, Crossroads, and it was phenomenal, amazing, the best venue.
I still miss it.
Just, oh my goodness.
And it did pretty well, but things changed. Like 10 years ago, downtown Huntsville was pretty much dead. But this area, like I want to say post-COVID, has just grown exponentially, not just in terms of the number of people that live and work here now, but also in terms of like the entertainment options. So post-COVID, we have had the Orion open up. You've probably heard about that. We've talked about it because we've had a lot of great shows there. Just in the past 2 years, Sharla and I have seen My Morning Jacket, Smashing Pumpkins about a month or so ago. I took Lacey, our niece, to see Alenium over there. What else have we seen? I feel like there's more. We saw Fish, of course.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fish played there for 2 nights. That was a shock to everyone when that was announced. But now it's just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But we've had a number of other things too. So you've heard us talk about our friends Wanda and Them Damn Dogs. Huntsville has also grown a tremendous locally grown music scene as well, right? Another one of my favorite bands in town is Seeds. They've all played our Bonnaroo, all 3 of those, right? Anything else you can call out when it comes to like the current music scene of Huntsville?
Well, I can call out one thing.
Yeah.
Huntsville proper has 200, and this is just proper.
Oh, she looked it up. Here we go.
Not the metropolis, has 216,000. Chattanooga has 182,000.
Oh, really?
So I was correct.
All right.
And you acted, meh.
I didn't know. Well, I'm glad you looked it
And
up.
that's not the metropolis. I'm not going to talk about the metropolis because Huntsville's very debatable about that.
Something else that I will point out, I think that there was a lot of healthy skepticism from the locals when things like the Orion was announced. And also another one is Mars Music Hall. That's coming to mind now. That's kind of a smaller venue that's attached to the Von Braun Center. So if you're in the Nashville area, I think it's comparable to Marathon Music Works. About the same size, although I will say the acoustics at Mars Music Hall are not good. Brooklyn and I went to go see Modest Mouse over there about 1.5 years ago. And the sound was that was the worst sounding concert I've ever been to. And it wasn't because of the band. The band was great. It was the sound in there. Like when Isaac from Modest Mouse was talking, he sounded like one of the teachers on Charlie Brown, like wah 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 wah. It was just bad. Yeah. So unless they've made drastic improvements, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that venue. But the Orion is fantastic.
It's great.
We've had
I have been thoroughly surprised.
Oh yeah, and I want to give them props too, because when they've had artists like Fish or Widespread Panic or Billy Strings, they have not only allowed but encouraged a big shakedown street in the parking lot.
Right.
Like, that was awesome. Mm-hmm. That's worth going to even if you aren't going to the show, because that's free to go to, whether or not you have tickets. Mm-hmm. I hope they continue doing that with a lot of jam bands. Oh, and we weren't there, but we had Lana Del Rey, part-time Waffle House employee, over there last week. I heard nothing but good things about that show from people that went.
Yes.
And that she was at the Orion. Anything else you want to call out about the current state of the Huntsville music scene?
I mean, there's also that concert hall at the BBC. I mean,
it's okay.
They've been using that for years, but I have saw Old Crow in there like 3 times.
Third Eye Blind last time.
And I saw Third Eye Blind in there. But...
Yeah, so here's what I would say about the current state of like the scene. I think there's a great group, different circles of friends that are supporting locally grown music. Like, I named some of them. Them Damn Dogs, Wanda, Seeds. There's many other bands. There's also a growing house music scene around here. That scene is great. Like, the big circle of friends that all kind of hang out at the same bars and go to these like smaller venues is doing fantastic. But one thing that I would point out about like Huntsville is like the vast majority of the demographic here are kind of, and I don't mean this, derogatively, but kind of the cookie cutter, 2.5 kids, a garage with 2 cars, works out at the Arsenal. They strut it to Gunnersville, if you know that joke, thank you. They aren't the biggest music supporters, although I think that is starting to change. And additionally, I think we have a lot of people who are more than happy to travel to Huntsville for these kind of shows. At least I've noticed that at all the shows that we went to locally this summer, right?
I absolutely agree. Some of the shows we went to at the Orion, I would turn around, oh, where are you from? And people would be all the way from, Kentucky, the Carolinas, wherever. I mean, so that was phenomenal to see.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Daniel. I think that it has gotten tremendously better. Just in the past few years, I mean, there's been tons and tons and tons of just independent groups, music networking groups, essentially, that have sprung up. I mean, there's like Huntsville music scene and just all types of little groups coming together, and there's like a house music group, and there's all types of different calendars. You can look up Huntsville music calendars and for local artists and for touring artists as well. That you can look up and find out who's playing in Huntsville. But up until just even a few years ago, or up until pretty recently, every time I would go to a show in Huntsville, I would feel honestly awkward standing up.
Oh man, yeah. Let's be transparent. That happened at Third Eye Blind.
I would just feel so awkward standing up, but it has gotten better. It continues to get better every single day. And the one thing that really surprised me when the information about the festival came out, honestly, I'm going to be real honest with you guys.
Please.
I was ready to fight people. I was like, oh, I got my fighting gloves on. Who am I going to argue with today on the internet? You know, and to be perfectly honest, I only saw one or two negative comments about it. I really didn't see anything that was just overly negative or overly critical about it.
Yeah.
By far and above, I mean, there was one, we have a local Facebook page that puts out like new businesses, new events, things like that. And there was just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, of comments of, oh, that's great. I want to see so-and-so. This is great, So nothing overly negative, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't really see anything negative. The only things that I would say were like a little detractive were like some people were commenting like, oh, this isn't going to work. But I think the initial announcement from the city may have been a little, not misleading, but confusing, because they were saying like, oh, we're going to have a new event from the organizers of Bonnaroo. And I think that led people to be mistaken that it was going to be a giant camping festival like that. Mm-hmm. But realistically, the best comparison is something like Moon River over in Chattanooga.
Right.
And I do think officials with the city have stated this, so I'm not, giving anything away, that it's going to be a 2-day city event. So you just come in, park for the day, and do it again the next day, and it's over. There's no camping. It's not nearly as big as Lollapalooza or something like that. And I don't mean that in terms of the lineup. We don't know that yet. We probably won't know that until next year, but I'm just guessing. I don't know that for sure.
Right.
Do you want to talk about this actual new festival in relation to where it is in the city and everything, or do you have anything else to say about the state of Huntsville?
Sure, no, we can talk about John Hunt Park.
And I can tell you, nobody really calls it that. I don't hear anybody locally really calling it that. I always hear the park over there next to the ice rink or something like that. Mm-hmm. Do you ever hear anybody say that?
I read it.
Yeah, I never hear anybody actually say it when you're talking.
I read it more than I hear it.
Okay, so that park that it's going to be at is in southern Huntsville. So if you're local, it's off of South Memorial. That's one of the main highways here in town. I think the largest event that it has held to this point is like the Huntsville Fair, which, I mean, sounds silly, but I think it's going to be comparable in terms of footprint for this event.
Okay, so the Rocket City Fair? Is that...
Yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah. So I think that it will be in that particular field. Now, if you want to follow along and look that up on Google Maps on your phone or on your laptop while we're talking about it, it's just south of the Huntsville Iceplex, which has recently renovated its whole parking area. Mm-hmm. If you know anything about Huntsville, you may know that for whatever reason, this is a hockey town. The UAH hockey team was very successful back in the day. We don't have them anymore. But the Havoc is actually about to start here in a week or two, I believe. They're kind of like a minor league hockey team. And they are very well attended. Like, people love the Huntsville Havoc here in town. But that's a long way of saying that, like, this is a big hockey town, and that Iceplex usually gets a big crowd for like these intramural type places. And I think they've actually hosted like college hockey games there in the past. Mm-hmm. So they have a big parking lot. That's one area. And also in that general area, we now have the Huntsville City Football Club. Not, Southern American football, but football in terms of like European. So soccer, yeah. They have also been very popular this past year in their inaugural year. And parking has been a little tricky, but has worked for those games. If you are from the area, you would know that is formerly, or still is, Joe Davis Stadium, where the Huntsville Stars minor league baseball team used to play. Like, Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire used to play there back in the day.
Michael Jordan played there.
Yeah, technically, Michael Jordan played that place, yes, when he was with the Chicago White Sox minor league affiliate, the Birmingham Barons. Yes. I was at that game. It was insane.
Michael Jordan play there.
I saw Michael Jordan play ball. I didn't tell you what kind of ball. I remember I was a kid when I saw that. He got a standing ovation for striking out. It was ridiculous. Oh, by the way, can I take a quick detour and give everybody some trivia?
Yeah.
In the beloved 1995 movie Space Jam, when Michael Jordan is playing in baseball at the beginning, they're playing the Huntsville Stars.
Okay.
Our former minor league team from here in town. I just love that bit of stupid trivia. But anyways, those are some things that are in the vicinity of where this new festival is going to happen. So I don't think parking or like arrival and departure is going to be a big concern, because there's lots of ways in and out of there. I think they were pretty smart to pick that area as opposed to something else in town.
There is a pretty major highway that runs along there, Memorial Parkway.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little similar to how the interstate runs right next to Bonnaroo, I suppose.
This is not an interstate, but it's 431 north and south.
Yeah.
That's the number of it.
It's one of those kind of highways that doesn't technically have like red lights on the main part. It has like overpasses, so you can quickly get around, in and out. So they were pretty smart to pick that area because I think traffic is going to be a bit of a breeze there.
So John Hunt Park has almost 430 acres. It's like 438.1 or something. I looked it up.
How many stages would you guess they would have for this? I would guess like 2 main stages like they do at Moon River.
In comparison, Bonnaroo has 700 and something acres.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I don't think it's any secret that this is definitely a smaller event.
Well, obviously, I'm just saying,
yeah.
to wrap your mind around how many acres that is.
Yeah. The other thing that I think works well in Huntsville's favor is this town is pretty central to a lot more than you would initially realize. Mm-hmm. So it's not Nashville. Unless we have like a killer lineup, which is possible. I don't expect that we'll have too many people from Nashville.
We're getting the Killers?
Oh my God. No, I did not say
that.
Oh my God. But it's central to a lot of places like, let's say.
Said.
No, that is far behind us. Anyways.
I'm playing.
What I was trying to say is there is a town just about an hour and a half west of us, actually the whole area, the Shoals area. And if you know your music history, you know that is a very musically significant town. I don't know I take that back because Adele has recently recorded there, I believe, and Lana Del Rey recently recorded over in the Shoals area at Fame Studios. So there is a lot of music production happening over there. And there is a lot happening at Sharla's alma mater, the University of North Alabama. If you know John Paul White from the Civil Wars, he actually teaches music over there. And he has a label that our friend Wanda is on, Single Lot Records. Also the home to St. Paul and the Broken Bones. Very good friends of Bonnaroo. So that's just one example of a town that is just a short, stone's throw away from Huntsville. But there's also Birmingham, which has historically been a good music town, but I think we're starting to skip ahead of them a little bit, So I think Huntsville is a great central location to a lot of people who can drive in. I think that's a great location people will be able to get in and out of. I think we are an up and coming music town that is very primed to, be a part of this in addition to people that will come from out of town. So I think this is a real smart thing that Live Nation, C3, the former AC people are putting together. I can't wait to see what it is. And also, I can't wait for our foundation to have a table there as well. All right. Any other thoughts on it? I'm loving this. I think we should hear in the coming months, a name, a date. I don't think we'll be hearing a lineup for some time, though.
No, that'll be a while.
And I don't know anything about that. I'm just kind of guessing. That's just Daniel's guess on that. But do you want to play that fun game of guessing what kind of names we might get on that lineup?
I heard through the grapevine, and this is the rumors that I've been hearing, and y'all can just go ahead and say that the Ruba said this. I don't care. That it was going to be a yacht rock festival.
I hope
they're
not.
going to play all yacht rock jams.
Lil Yachty? He'd be great.
No, not Little Yachty. All yacht rock.
Where are you hearing this?
Jams.
Where are you hearing this?
And they're going to get that one band, Yacht Rock Review.
That's going to be the headliner?
It's going to be the headliner. And everybody's going to wear little captain's hats.
All right, she had me for a minute there.
Everybody's going to wear little captain's hats.
Are you done with this joke now?
It's not a joke. It's
not
a joke. That's what I've been hearing. Someone told me that. I got good connections.
Well, okay. Can I give you my guess now?
I was at the State of the City yesterday, and that's what everyone was saying. It was going around.
Oh, okay. I think she's kind of joking because that band played something that she was working one time.
Well, they played something I was working, and then we went across the country just for something else, and then they were all.
It was in L.A. Yeah, we saw a small venue that was hosting them in L.A. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, they were playing that venue, and then they were at the bar too. We saw them at the bar.
Oh my gosh!
I can't get away from them.
So I'm going to give you my very uninformed total guess on this. I think right now the dog is licking my arm. Thank you. My total guess is Mumford and Sons may be a distinct possibility. And here's the reason I say this. One of the guys in the band, not Marcus Mumford, but one of the other guys, I forget which son it is is a co-investor in the Orion Theater here in town. So they already have ties to Huntsville. They clearly know the area. I think they would be an attainable headliner. And I don't mean any disrespect to Mumford & Sons. They aren't exactly the name that they were the last time that they headlined Bonnaroo. I think that particular band would be a great fit for Huntsville. I think they are the great mix of indie and Americana, even though they're from the UK, that Huntsville would really go for. I think they would sell a ton of tickets. I think they would get a lot of people from outside of town coming here. Again, I don't know this for sure. I know nothing when it comes to lineup for this thing. But that one, to me, if I were one of the bookers and I was putting in my vote, I would just tell them that, like, hey, this makes a lot of sense. And I would think that the lineup is going to be very similar in lane and in taste to what they're already doing at Moon River. I think Huntsville and the music taste here is a little bit more indie than what they've been doing with Moon River over in Chattanooga. So I think there's a good chance we would have a few more of those kind of bands. You joked about the Killers. We're not going to get them, I don't think. But a band like that makes sense, I think. And also, I don't know if anybody from Live Nation is listening to this, but if anybody can pass word along to them, I really hope that they integrate the live music scene here in Huntsville into the lineup. All of our friends that I mentioned, yeah, I'm going to be homers. Like Dim Dam Dogs, Wanda, Seeds, those kind of bands. I would hope to see them in small font on the lineup poster. I would hope that this is a small mix of Huntsville music along with the big names that sells tickets.
Right. Mm-hmm. Someone did mention, when I saw a post that said, who do you want to see? Someone mentioned a stage for local bands or something like that. And I remember going to a festival several years ago. It was Sloss Fest in Birmingham, and they had specifically that, a stage for local music and stuff like that.
Well,
so I always think that's cool.
Can I push back against that just a little bit, though? That is fine, but to me personally, having like a smaller stage that you put local bands on feels like a very much scraps at the kids' table situation.
You're right, Daniel.
Because when I've seen that, like what you talked about back at Sloss Fest back in the day, people just give it a passing glance.
You're right. No, you're right.
They stop and see one song or two. But if you put somebody on the big stage early in the day, like first or second act, I feel like that merits more attention. People don't see them as a sideshow. And, you know, we have no affiliation with the Orion. Maybe this costs me in the future, but I don't care. To this point, to the point that you're listening to this, the Orion has not featured a local artist opening up for a big artist. Now, that's about to change because here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Jason Isbell playing, and he's having local band from Florence, the Pollies, open for him. They're another band on Single Lock Records, you know, like I talked about, the same one as Wanda and St. Paul. That's cool. I'm glad that they're finally doing that, but 2+ years into the venue being open, I think that's a little inexcusable. What they have done is they've used a smaller venue about a half-mile walk away from the Orion called the Camp, which we do love. We go to every once in a while. There's a food truck with some great shrimp over there, by the way. They have hosted, you know, Them Damn Dogs pretty frequently. That was the last time we saw them. We went over there to go check them out and hang out. I would prefer that a band like Them Damn Dogs or another great Huntsville band, Drop Diver, would actually open for somebody like My Morning Jacket or Fish. And I know that's aspirational because there's lots of contracts and politics that you have to work out and everything. But in an ideal world, I wish that would happen. So ideally, at this Huntsville Music Festival, even though I know they have to be smaller font names, that's realistic, I would love for them to play the same big stages and not just get the scraps at the kids' table like I mentioned, you know? Mm-hmm. All right, you've been looking some stuff up. What do you got to tell us here?
No, I was just going to tell you that it's Ben Lovett from Mumford & Sons.
Was he playing the band? I don't remember.
I don't know. I didn't look that part up.
One of the various sons. Yeah, but one of the various sons is an investor with the Orion. And you know what? I mean, even though I just picked at him, giving him a couple of my complaints, that's the only complaint I have, really. Like, they have done just a mind-blowing job. Mm-hmm. Not just putting together a venue, getting a good lineup, but bringing people in. They've marketed it well. Like I talked about, they've been doing Shakedown Street, which is amazing. A lot of venues don't want that happening.
I would love to see the Orion have more color.
That is very true, and I'm glad you brought that up.
That's not a complaint at all. that is a wish, not a complaint.
Yeah.
It is very, it's very millennial beige. I've never seen the most millennial beige building in my entire life. Everything in there is the color beige. And I guess it's supposed to look like a coliseum, maybe, but I would love to see it have some color.
Yeah, it does feel like a big concrete bowl. But it's early. They're probably planning some more.
Sure, yeah. That's just a wish.
Yeah. You kind of unintentionally made a pun, but I do wish they had some more diversity in their lineup that they have over there. It's been a lot of old white guys in a lot of cases, to be honest. I mean, fish is great, but you can't just get by on old white guys all the time, you know? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but unfortunately, that's, a point that we have to talk about a lot these days.
But do you, Daniel, honestly, are you looking at every act they have? Or are you just looking at the acts
true.
You want to see?
That's very true. I mean, all of us look at these things with a little bit of bias. That's a way deeper conversation that we can have tonight, but maybe one of these days we can get the right people on to talk with us about that kind of thing. That's a way bigger conversation. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen every act that they have.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can circle back around on that kind of thing.
I think that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah. We can have a whole long podcast about that. We should talk about that one of these days.
And I don't think we're the appropriate people to talk about that.
Yeah. We know some good people. We can bring them in. But anyway, we'll save that for another day. Long story short.
We're going off the rails.
Yeah, that's all right. What rails were there for this podcast to begin with? Long story short, we are very excited about this thing coming to our hometown. We have been advocating for Huntsville for a long time. If you've heard this podcast, we've been shouting out our friends in the local bands and local venues and locally owned businesses and everything. And we're really excited because you've probably heard Barry talk about on the What podcast about how much business that Moon River brings to Chattanooga.
Right.
Huntsville getting a piece of that pie is a big deal. Mm-hmm. We are very much an up-and-coming city. I think we are passing Birmingham as the biggest city in some descriptors nowadays. And for us to get one of these things after, being barren for so many years, not having a real festival since the death of Big Spring Jam, this is way overdue. It's something I've been wanting for a long time. If you listen to some recent episodes, you'll probably hear me petitioning for this. So I'm happy that it's happening. Man, I'm just so happy for our town. Rocket City is finally getting something. And I will tell you this, in the few conversations that I've had with the powers that be, I've been really pushing for them to be some kind of space theme for this thing. It only makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I think we'll be learning more in the coming months and early next year. And again, I know I have to be a little bit vague because there's some things I know and some things I don't, but I really don't think I've overstepped my bounds tonight talking about this kind of thing. But I will tell you, when it happens, we can't wait to welcome you here to Huntsville. It's going to be a good time. When it gets closer, we can totally give you guys a lot of recommendations for locally owned businesses and restaurants and stuff like that.
Oh, I cannot wait for the...
We'll have to have a big pre-party or something.
Oh, gosh.
I did mention we'll definitely have a table for our new nonprofit there. We'll get up to something at this new festival. I can't wait. Anything else on it, Sharla?
You can't all stay at the house.
We can have a few people stay at the house.
Maybe like
Andrew warned us. He was like, this may be a big event. Like, you might just want to tell everybody there's only room for like 6-7 people or something like that.
So I already got messages.
Like, can we stay at the house for this festival that I don't know anything about yet?
I think it was a joke, though.
But, I mean, that one may be a little tight because hopefully it'll be a big deal. But, we've mentioned it before. If you're ever passing through, you got a place to stay here. All right, so I think we have exhausted the subject. That's all we know and all we can speculate on for the time being.
So I hope y'all are excited for the yacht rock.
For the record, she's joking.
No, I'm not joking.
She's joking.
I was at the state of the city, and it's going to be a yacht rock, so break out your captain's hats.
She is totally joking.
Get your captain's hats.
If that was the case, I would not have just done the whole episode about it.
Why? You don't like yacht rock?
I can take it. It's like having broccoli. Like, broccoli's all right if you put cheese and salt on it, and you definitely don't want to eat only broccoli.
I would eat only broccoli.
Well, you're weird.
What's wrong with broccoli?
That was a great song that Lil Yachty was featured on.
I didn't say anything about Lil Yachty.
I don't know if I would call it a great song. That was a silly song. Now we're definitely off the rails. You want to end things and go have dinner?
Yeah.
All right. We will see you guys the week after next. And I think the week after next, we will finally be splurging all the details on the new nonprofit. The name is out there. We've been starting to tell various groups and things like that. So
But we're officially announcing it on
yeah.
Well,
We're just kind of teasing things along. We'll have much more to talk about. Maybe we can just make the live episode our next episode. We can just record our little song and dance and have a few guests and do
that'd be
trivia
cool,
or something like that. We'll just make that the next episode. What do you think?
that'd be cool, yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to be on the next episode, we will maybe delay it a week or so, and we will record it on Friday the 13th. That's not a creepy date. On that night over from the Madison Tap Room. So if you're in the area, please come down, have a drink, hang out with us, and you will be on the next episode where we announce, I almost said the name of it, but we'll tell you there. It's out there. Go find it.
It's called
Yeah.
the Yacht Rock Foundation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. All right. We're going to eat dinner, getting out of here. Go out there and radiate positivity. We'll see you soon.
Bye.